What's going on, guys? And today it is finally time for my 23-24 Premier League predictions. I've got all the teams, I've looked at all the transfers, looked at everything last season, and I've made my top 20 list. So let's get straight into it. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe for more content like this, and let's go. Alright, in last place, I'm sorry to the Cherries, but I have put Bournemouth. They did very well last season to survive the Premier League under Gary O'Neill, but that's where I think their problems are starting for next season. They have sacked Gary O'Neill and brought in a new, younger manager. I'm not sure of his name, but I think that's a big mistake. Gary O'Neill did a brilliant job with Bournemouth last year, and I think replacing him was kind of disrespectful to him and the wrong decision. Second season syndrome is also a thing. We've seen it happen to Sheffield United before, teams like that. I believe it will happen to Bournemouth, to be honest with you. They have made some decent signings, some promising ones, young players, Kirkes and Kluge. Not Premier League proven, but young and prospects, which they could perform, but it really depends on the rest of the team, and I don't think Bournemouth will perform this season, and I put them bottom of the Premier League. In 19th, and I reckon we all saw this come in, it is Luton Town. Obviously they won the playoffs last year, first time in the Premier League ever, and they've gone from the National League to the Premier League in around 10-15 years. It was unbelievable, fairy tale story, isn't it? I just don't think their squad is good enough to survive the Premier League. Out of all the teams in the Premier League next season, they obviously were worst in the 92 pyramid. They came third in the Championship, won the playoff against Coventry in the final, which was good. They do have some Scotch star players like Adebayo, what's his name? I'm trying to think of some. They've got some pretty decent players, but I'm not thinking they're going to be able to survive the Prem. I would love to see them survive, right? Like Luton as a team, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. In 18th, I've won Sheffield United. Not much to be said, really. I think they'll be in the relegation battle for most of the season and drop off in the last 5 games or so. I don't think their squad is Premier League quality. Obviously, you've got former wonder kids in there. You've got Brewster in there. You've got Sander Berge, who's a good player. But despite that, I just don't think they will be good enough for next season. They're not been very active in the transfer window either, not bringing in many players, or if any at all. So I put them in 18th place for next season. In 17th, just surviving the drop, I've gone Wolverhampton Wanderers. They've got some big issues here. They're losing a lot of players. Ruben Neves has gone to Saudi Arabia. Jimenez has moved to Fulham. Obviously Jimenez hasn't been performing for a while, but he's definitely a player that they're going to miss in the dressing room. Obviously Ruben Neves has been their star player for years now, and only 25 has moved to Saudi Arabia, which you all know how we feel about that. Also, Julian Lopetegui, he is a great manager, but I reckon that about halfway through the season he will get sacked, and someone will be brought in to save Wolves. I reckon he will get the sack halfway through the season. I put them 17th. I just don't think they need to score goals. To be fair, they need to score goals. They don't have players to do that. Obviously, Jimenez did that for a while, and then he dropped off, and then Wolves just struggled to score goals. They have decent defence, but other than that, I reckon they will just survive in the 17th position. In 16th, I've put Brentford, and there is mainly just one reason for this, and it is because of Ivan Toney. They are losing Ivan Toney until I think it's January 2024, but that lack of goals throughout the first half of it might be 2025. I'm not sure. I think it's 2024. The lack of goals throughout that first half of the season is going to absolutely kill Brentford. Toney scored a third of Brentford's goals last season, scored 20 goals in the Prem, which was absolutely mental for a player at Brentford. I mean, maybe Wissa could do it. Maybe Wissa or Mbemo could have a decent season, but I just don't reckon they can push for Conference League once again with no Ivan Toney or no massive striker. If they wanted to try and do that again, then they must sign someone like Rodrigo from Leeds or something like that, but no signings have been made in that position for Brentford yet, which I think needs to happen. Maybe a loan for half a season or something until Ivan Toney gets back playing football. Obviously, he was banned because of the betting situation. But I do like some of Brentford's squad. Aaron Hickey is a nice youngster. David Raya could be on his way out, but I think with Spurs signing Vicario and Man United signing Onana, that he might stay at Brentford. You never know. You never know. Brentford have a nice squad. They signed Nathan Collins as well. I think that's a brilliant pick-up. Thomas Frank is a decent manager. I think they'll come 16th and maybe pick up again next season. Next up is my club, and it is Everton that I am putting in the number 15 spot. Personally, I reckon Everton will stay up once again, but pushed to be maybe at the bottom half of mid-table. I think that could happen. Sean Dyche obviously used to keeping teams up, did it with Burnley for a good few years until he got the sack, and that's when Burnley went down. I think that was not his fault, personally. I think if they would have kept him, he would have stayed up. Enough of Burnley. Everton, we've signed Dan Zuma, which I think is a brilliant pickup. Obviously didn't do amazing at Spurs, but let him give a full season at Everton, and I think he'll do a job over Calvert-Lewin. I'm not a massive fan of Calvert-Lewin personally, as an Everton fan. Also signed Ashley Young, who's a very nice player to have, a bit of James Milner. Been playing week in week out for the last decade or so, way more than that. He's like 38, but he's a brilliant player, very versatile, good to have in the dressing room, true leader, I reckon. And with all this, the new stadium being built, I think this is our last season at Goodison Park, so I don't think we can get relegated at Goodison Park, surely not. I think we'll put us at 15th place. In 14th, I have put Vincent Kompany's Burnley. Now, I think we all reckon Burnley will survive the Premier League. A lot of people are thinking Burnley will survive, and I'm one of them. Vincent Kompany played absolutely liquid football at Burnley last season in the Championship, and if he can carry on that on in the Prem, that is going to tear up the Prem. I think 14th place, I reckon Burnley will finish. They have signed James Trafford of Manchester City. Obviously, Kompany's got that link with Pep. Obviously, he used to play with under Pep, didn't he, at Manchester City. Burnley actually played Man City in the first game of the season, so I reckon that'll be a good game. But James Trafford obviously was absolutely incredible and did under 20 Euros. Kept a clean sheet in every single match and saved a penalty in like the 96th minute in the final to win it for England. So it was a good performance from James Trafford. Signing him up for Burnley, so let's hope he does a good job. Other than that, I reckon Burnley are going to push for 14th this season. In 13th, I have gone with Fulham. Now, I think they definitely overperformed last season. They did very well to get into the top 10, I believe it was. I just reckon this season, I mean, they're gonna have Mitrovic for the whole season, which is definitely an upside to last season. Obviously, he did receive that ban. Was it really necessary? I don't know. I think they'll drop off a bit this season, but not much. If they can keep Polinia, which I know they're trying to do, Mitrovic is also might be on his way out, which is why they brought him in as I think. Polinia is an absolute beast. I don't know why he went to Fulham from Sporting. He definitely could have done a job at a top 6 Premier League club like Arsenal, so Declan Rice or something like that. But I reckon that if they can keep Polinia, if they can keep Mitrovic, they will definitely stay out of that relegation battle, and I put them in 13th. In 12th, I put Crystal Palace. I don't think anyone should be surprised by this. Since the first season they were in the Prem, a good 5 years ago or so, they've got 40 points every single season. I think that's going to carry on. Got to carry on. I reckon 44 points for Crystal Palace next season, 12th place. And I reckon they'll do it again. I'll do it once again. Players like the CDM Decore have been playing very well. Mark Gay still in the team. Players like Sam Johnstone at your keeper spot is definitely a good player to have. Still youngsters like Tyreek Mitchell there. The only problem I could see is Wilfried Zaha has left the club for Galatasaray. Obviously, been the main man there for nearly a decade now. But with players like Everett Eze and Michael Olise stepping up, they might not really be hindered with that, which I hope not, because I like Palace. They're actually pretty decent, but I reckon Palace will be 12th. Alright, in 11th, I have put Nottingham Forest. I don't think they need to sign any players right this window. They might do, but I don't think they need to. Obviously, last season, they signed like a whole 30 something players, which was absolutely mental. They started off the season really bad, like 7 losses or whatever it was, but then they just picked it up. They picked it up, got the momentum going, and it just started going well. Like the group of players, they've now got the chemistry. They've now actually got the experience, and I think they are signing Dean Henderson on a permanent, which is really good for them because they need a solid keeper. And I think now that they've been playing together for like a whole year, I think Forest are on the up. I'm expecting 11th place, possibly pushing to the top half of the table for Nottingham Forest, but I reckon they will come 11th place, which is very good for Nottingham Forest. I hope all the best for them. Right, a certain fan base is gonna absolutely scream at me right now. Number 10, I put Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, Ange Postecoglou, overrated, in my opinion. Yeah, he won the Scottish Prem with Celtic, but they've done it the last 11 years, like the last 10 out of 11 years. So it's not a massive accomplishment, I don't think. Second of all, if Jose Mourinho can't fix Tottenham and Pochettino can't fix Tottenham, what makes you think an under-proven Australian Premier League manager, Scottish Premier League manager, will be able to do that at Tottenham? I just don't think this appointment is going to work. They've already lost to West Ham in the friendlies in pre-season. Obviously there's some good players. They have Udogie, who's coming from Udinese back out from loan. He's a promising left back. He scored against West Ham, beautiful header to be fair. They have already signed a new goalkeeper to replace Loris Vicario, who seems like a decent player. I saw a very good clip of him when it was at Empoli in the Serie A, made a triple save. It was quite nice. They've got experience like Ivan Perisic. Obviously Højbjerg is a very good player. James Maddison, new signing from Leicester. I'm excited to see how he'll do, because on his day he is really, really solid, to be honest with you. And then this is where we get to the problem. Harry Kane, will he stay or will he go? I think he needs to go. I personally think he needs to leave Tottenham finally after these years, go somewhere, win some silverware, and finally let go of Tottenham. He's not winning anything at Tottenham. He could break the Premier League goal scoring record at Tottenham, but other than that, he's not winning anything there. And Heung-min Son, on his day, he is an absolute baller. I mean, if he's on form, then he's one of the best players in the world. But if he's not, he's just really inconsistent. I think Spurs are going to come 10th. I'm sorry, they just play bad football. You can't do it. In 9th, I've gone with the European winners, West Ham United. A lot of passion around that club recently with their Conference League win over Fiorentina, which has put them in the Europa League for this season. Now, you might think that because they've got Europa League football, that they've got to rotate the squad a bit more, and they might not be performing for the Premier League games. But I think that with the players like Flynn Downs maybe stepping up next season, he was very decent last season for the second half of it. I personally think that they are going to really use that momentum of winning the Conference League and push them up into the top half of the Premier League table once again, as they were just a season or two ago. I personally think players like Skamaka, if he does stay, he could maybe start to put in a few numbers. Kufau, I really rate as a footballer. Ogbonna is a real leader. Souček may miss Declan Rice as a double pivot partner, but maybe Flynn Downs could be his predecessor. I could see that happening. Lucas Paqueta, obviously a brilliant player. Very excited to see what he can do next season. Obviously Declan Rice is going to be a big miss, but they've got about 100 million out of it. Right, they can put that back into the squad, and maybe buy some squad depth so they can, you know, do better in both competitions. But I reckon West Ham do 9th up the Hammers. At number 8, I have put Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, I really like the way Brighton do business, but if they want to really stay in that top 6 for next season, they're going to have to buy some more squad players. They've bought James Milner, which I think is a really good signing. He will play most of the Europa League games and Wednesday nights, I reckon, or Thursday nights, whatever they are. Brighton are a really good team. I really do rate Brighton. Players like Alexis McAllister have left though, so that is a big problem. But they've still got players like Estepinian. They've still got Solly March. They've still got Danny Welbeck for that experience. I think what they really need is that out-and-out goal scorer, and I think that's why they've tried to sign, and I think they have signed João Pedro from Watford. I don't know what I think about this pickup. I've not seen much of him play. I saw him play a few seasons ago when he was in the Premier League. He did seem quite promising. If he could put up numbers, then fair play. It's a good signing, but I'm not quite sure yet. I think the lack of squad depth will slightly hinder Brighton. I think they'll have a decent Europa League run, but I have put them in 8th place in the Premier League. 7th is Aston Villa, and I've got 4 words. Emery is a genius. He is one of the most underrated managers in the world, in my opinion. He took Aston Villa, who were like in the relegation zone, to European football in just about half a year, which is absolutely insane. He's brought in players like Pau Torres, Yuri Tielemans, Moussa Diaby. You got to remember that amazing Moussa Diaby chant. Play it now. Exactly. He's just banging. What can you say? What can you say? But basically, I just really like Aston Villa's work that they've done recently. Ollie Watkins is an absolute baller. Jacob Ramsey, brilliant. They've got Philip Coutinho, which I really hope goes back into form because he could be a brilliant player on his day. They've got Tyrone Mings at the back. Emi Martinez, World Cup winner. They've just got everyone. They've got a really solid team. I think they have the quality to win the Conference League. If West Ham can do it, Aston Villa can do it. I reckon Emery's going to become a Conference League winner once again. And yeah, Villa, I'm putting them in 7th place. Just imagine Diego Carlos and Pau Torres at the back for Aston Villa. That is a mad double centre half formation. That is mad. That is actually mad. That's a Champions League quality. That is Champions League quality. They're in 7th place. Alright, so before I get into my number 6 spot, let me just say, do not rage at me for putting clubs where you don't want them to be put. The top half of the table is so competitive this season, so it'll be normal that I get most of them wrong, to be honest with you. It's a very competitive league, isn't it, this season? But at number 6, I have put Chelsea. I reckon they will be back this season. They'll be back into European football for the season, post to this one. I personally think that Nicholas Jackson is an absolute baller. Luka Modric is one player for the future. You've seen in pre-season, Jackson and Modric have been absolutely tearing up pre-season, to be honest with you. To be fair, I really like what Pochettino's doing right now. Selling out the dead wood. They're going through a transition period, Chelsea. That's why I don't reckon they'll be in the top 4 conversation just yet. I still reckon they're going to get top 6, but in a year or two, that's when I reckon they're going to get top 4, maybe push for the title once again, when the players are fully matured, grown, and experienced to the Premier League. I really like what Chelsea are doing though. Nicholas Jackson, as I've already said, is an absolutely brilliant signing. I reckon he needs to sign a new goalkeeper. I'm not really trusting on Kepa. On his day, he can be a brilliant player, but every now and again, he can really fumble, and in big games we've seen that happen in cup finals, you know what I mean? But yeah, Chelsea in 6th. In 5th place, and we have put Manchester United. Right, I like Ten Hag. I like United. I just think the top four is going to be so congested with the teams like Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, you know what I mean? I just don't think Manchester United are going to have the quality. If they can bring in Kane, which I don't reckon they will, but if they can somehow pull that off, I think I would push them into that conversation. But the problem is, I don't know where to get the goals from. Obviously Marcus Rashford, he can be playing on the left, Sancho or Anthony on the right. Who can be playing in the middle? Martial? I don't reckon Martial will be fit throughout the most of the season. Wout Weghorst is gone, even though he was about as useful as an oath. Personally, I think they need to invest a lot of money into a striker that not a Lukaku, right? Not a Lukaku, not a Cavani. A striker who's actually going to score them goals, like a Victor Osimhen or a Harry Kane. You know what I mean? I like Ten Hag. I do think if he gets the right funding, if he can make the right decisions in a good few years, he might push for the title. But right now, I'm saying they're going to come 5th in the Premier League. In 4th, and it is Liverpool. Now, I think what Liverpool are doing with the transfers are pretty good. The only problem is they're losing a lot of key players they've had for a long time. Obviously, Jordan Henderson has gone to Al Ittihad. Fabinho is off to Saudi Arabia as well, I believe. Thiago's on his way up, so that's that whole core of the midfield that they basically won a Champions League with is gone. Virgil van Dijk is getting on. He's still really quality, but he is getting on. They probably need a new right back as Trent is pushing into the midfield. They've signed Szoboszlai and McAllister. McAllister World Cup winner. Szoboszlai is a very quality player, but he's just not proven yet, really. He is only young. So I think this will be also a bit of like a transition period for Liverpool. They'll have Europa League, so I guess they're going to play it in that. I don't know how much squad depth they really have, especially in the midfield, losing James Milner, losing Naby Keita. They've still got players like Curtis Jones, like Harvey Elliott that can play there. But it just depends really. I reckon they will get Champions League football, only barely beating United. I think it's been shown Liverpool is the better team to United. With them beating them 7-0 last season, which is absolutely mental. I personally think Liverpool will get the top 4. Alright, in 3rd place I have got Arsenal Football Club. Now, I really wanted them to put them 2nd or 1st, but I just don't think they can beat the likes of Newcastle or Manchester City. Man City is like a machine. Newcastle has so much money invested into it. They're making signings left, right and centre. I think Arsenal will have a really good Champions League run. That's what I think they'll do. I think they'll drop off a tiny bit in the Prem, but still perform well. And I think they'll have a good Champions League run, maybe going far into the knockouts. I don't think they'll win it. I do not think they'll win it, but yeah. The signings of Kai Havertz is very interesting. I don't know what exactly the plan is for him, because they've already got Odegaard and Fabio Vieira in that position. Jesus up top, I'm not sure what he's going to be doing at Arsenal, but I guess that's for us to find out. Declan Rice is a very good transfer. They've lost Granit Xhaka. Rice can definitely fill that role. Just led West Ham obviously to the Conference League final and won the competition, which is mad. He's a quality player. Maybe a bit expensive, but an absolute quality player. I think it's worth it. Another signing, Jurrien Timber. They needed depth in that centre-back role. I think that's why they didn't win the league last season. They had to play Rob Holding. No offence to Rob Holding, but I just don't think he's good enough for maybe even the Premier League. I know he's good enough for the Premier League, just definitely not a title race team like Arsenal. Maybe like a Sheffield United, you know what I mean? But personally, I think Arsenal will come first this season. Mikel Arteta is a beast. 2nd place, it's Newcastle United. Now, they have sold players like Darlow to leave, so they've sold St. Maximin, he's gone to Saudi Arabia now. The amount of players going to Saudi Arabia is mad. But they've got, obviously, Saudi Arabia invested in them. They have signed one of the best midfielders in the world, Sandro Tonali, which is an absolutely brilliant pickup. I was really surprised when they actually got them. But the midfield is going to be mad. Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, Joe Willock, Joe Linton. It's just mad. Even Longstaff coming up. It's really, really crazy. Elliot Anderson as well. if players like Miguel Almiron can find like mad form that they did last season, that would be crazy. I think they still do need quite a bit of depth, but I think they will do that. I think they will sign that. They signed an Australian wonder kid, I think. He might have been loaned out already, but I'm not sure. So he is promising for the future, I believe. Nick Pope is a top quality goalkeeper, one of the best goalkeepers in the Prem, especially last season, and Kieran Trippier as well. He's so good. He is so good. Sven Botman, he's only young, but he's got really good maturity as a footballer, and he's a really good player. There might be a bit more depth in that, maybe the wide positions. Obviously losing St. Maximin, and I'm not sure if Jacob Murphy. I mean, yeah, he had a good spell, Jacob Murphy, last season. He had a good spell of like 4 games, so he scored like loads of goals. But is he Premier League quality? Is he Newcastle quality? I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson are absolute ballers. They've got players like Loris Karius in the team, which I'm not sure about. But I personally think that they're going to get 2nd place. Alright, and in first place, we all know who it is, it's Man City. I just personally think you can't get close to Man City at the moment. They're like an absolute engine. Pep Guardiola is an absolute genius. You've got players like Haaland, who just, like, first season in the Prem, he's broken the Premier League goal scoring record in a season. KDB is an absolute, like, he's a fantastic player. The amount of assists he's going to get next season is crazy. Grealish is showing he's brilliant. Foden, Rodri is the best CDM in the world. Diaz is incredible. Ake's playing good. Ederson, best sweeper keeper. Bar Neuer maybe, but Jesus Christ, this team is so good. Obviously there are talks that they might get Josko Gvardiol, which I think will be a brilliant signing. We did all the centre back because Laporte might be leaving. They have lost the captain. They have lost Ilkay Gundogan, but I don't think that's going to mean they're not going to win a title. Gundogan was a brilliant player last season, but they've got the likes of Bernardo Silva, they've got the likes of Cole Palmer coming through, Sergio Gomez, and they've still obviously got KDB. I think Man City could go Centurions again. They could do it. They could go invincible. They could. They really could. They really could. What's next for Man City? I don't know. Treble winners? I don't really know. But it's crazy how good Man City are, and I reckon that they will win the Premier League for this season. Well, that is the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed. If you don't agree, comment down below. You usually do. You usually have a go at me in the comments, that's fine. Yeah, hope you have a good day. I'll see you later. See you in the next one. Goodbye.